Justin, good to see you again. You told us last night that one of your greatest strengths was the ability to show up in big moments. I'm curious, as you reflect on your career throughout your entire football journey, what's on the short list for you of those big moments and those big performances that you're really proud of?
Yeah, I would definitely say my 2019 year against the team up north. Of course, that was definitely probably my first, big game of my Ohio State career. And then, of course, this past year playing in the Clemson game and my performance there. So I think, those are two definite highlights of my Ohio State career there where there were big moments.
That 2019 game, what do you recall most vividly? What are you most proud of about the way you guys went up there and handled your business?
Just the way, we treat that game, we treat that rivalry. So of course, that's a big rivalry for us. And, just the way, my teammates went out there. And of course, a big play in the game was when I got hurt. And then of course I came back in and threw the touchdown the next play. So just those plays. And of course, how big that game is to Ohio State and just our, our fans and our community.
Thank you.
Kevin Fishbane, The Athletic.
Hey, Justin, what's kind of your plan now to get to know some of your teammates, whether it's Andy Dalton or some of the linemen? Obviously, it's an interesting situation because you're the young guy, you're the rookie, but you're also a quarterback top pick. So how do you kind of go about approaching it? Have you already had some conversations with some of your new teammates?
Yeah, actually, walking around in the facility today, I met a few guys. I met, Tariq Cohen, and I actually met Andy Dalton out in California before my pro day. So he's a great guy, and my plan on to getting to know my teammates is literally just being myself. So it's definitely an easy job for me, and I just can't wait to meet all of them and get to work with them.
Larry Mayer, ChicagoBears.com.
Hey, Justin, what have the last 24 hours been like for you? You wake up yesterday morning not knowing where you're going to be going, who's going to draft you, where you're going to live, and all of a sudden the Bears pick you, they whisk you to Chicago, and you're at Hell Hall. What's it been like?
Yeah, it's definitely been crazy, but I'm blessed. Yesterday was a little bit hectic for me not really, knowing where I'm going to be, but it's definitely all been a blessing. I really didn't get that much sleep last night. Of course, it was a quick turnaround. I had a flight 6 a.m. this morning, so I just came up here. And since I've been up here, I've enjoyed every second of it. It's a beautiful place, and I'm excited for it.
Hub Arkush, Pro Football Weekly.
Hey, Justin, I'm one of those Team Up North alum that has to learn how to love one of you guys from down south now. So welcome to town. You're going to love Chicago.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
What can you tell us about what was going through your mind, what you were thinking, what you were feeling when you made the decision to transfer from Georgia to Ohio State?
So basically, an opportunity presented itself, and I had to make a decision for my future. And I'm really not going to get into all of the details, but at the end of the day, my family and I thought it was the best decision to play at Ohio State and make that move, and it of course paid off. So I'm definitely glad I made that decision.
Hey, real quick, Ryan Day just told us that it was your pup that got you through the pandemic last year. I'm just curious what kind of dog you have. What is his or her name?
Yeah, I have a French bulldog, and his name is Uno. So he's definitely a big part of my life, and he's my best friend for sure.
When you meet Tom Thayer, tell him that. Ask him about Ernie.
All right, I will.
Colleen Kane, Chicago Tribune.
Hey, Justin, obviously it was made public earlier this week that you were managing epilepsy. And I was wondering if you could just tell us, what it's taken to manage it in your life, and if there was ever a worry if it would affect your football career.
Yeah, so actually I got diagnosed with it in 9th grade. So basically it was just I had a seizure in school, and it was crazy because I just woke up in an ambulance. So it was definitely a crazy story for me, but regarding football and hasn't had an effect on football. It has had zero effect on football. I haven't missed any practices, any games because of it. And it's pretty simple for me to manage it. I just have to take 3 to 4 pills a night every night. So it's nothing crazy. It's kind of, a thing that's been there, for the past, 7 or 8 so years. So I'm used to it, and I'm just gonna continue to deal with it, and continue to play the game I love.
Adam Johns, The Athletic.
Hey, Justin, kind of a two-part question. Go back to that transfer. When you went to Columbus, how did you connect with your teammates right away? Like, what did you do? What did you take away from that in terms of becoming a leader on day one there, becoming a starter?
Yeah, of course I didn't have, personal relationships with, most of my teammates there. So what I pretty much did there was, show them how much I wanted to win, how much I wanted to be there. And I did that by, working hard in workouts and weight training, and, coming in first, and, sprint drills and stuff like that. And as time went along, I just, started building personal relationships with, from guys that were freshmen, from guys that were seniors, from guys that were walk-ons. So I think it's, very important to, get to know your teammates and kind of build those personal relationships with them. That way you can connect with them on the highest level.
And then today, when you met the guys at Hallis Hall, I'm curious, as you're walking through the halls, anything strike you, whether it's a picture of Walter Payton or George Hallis's hat? Like, this is a team with a lot of history.
Yeah, I mean, just the tradition here, the history here, the pride, here in Chicago is just unmatched. And, I just love the energy already. And I'm just, glad to be a Bear, and, glad to be a part of this great city and great organization. So I'm excited.
Mike Berman.
Hey, Justin, welcome to Chicago and congratulations. I think you touched on this last night, but wondering if you can expand on it. You're sitting inside of Hallis Hall, the headquarters of the Bears, and you understand the history of the quarterback position with this franchise and how tortured the fan base is and how badly they want a franchise quarterback to lead the way. Mm-hmm. How do you look at that opportunity? How do you approach it? How do you look at it? How do you maybe prevent the pressure from pouring down on you?
I don't think there's pressure at all on me, because I expect myself to, be a franchise quarterback. So, there's really no added pressure. I came from a big program like Ohio State, where, the fan base is very passionate about their sport. So there's definitely no added pressure on me in terms of that. I expect myself to be a franchise quarterback and one day, hopefully a top 5 quarterback in this league. So that's what I'm going to, strive to do. I'm going to work every day to, reach my goal and to reach new heights. So, yeah.
Cam Ellis.
Hey, Justin, sort of related to that, I know you filmed the message to fans last night, and I'm sure you've heard from more than a couple since then. I'm just sort of curious what your first impression of talking and hearing from Bears fans has been in the first, 18 hours or so.
Yeah, I mean, these Bears fans from these, first 18 hours or so, they've been great. They've shown nothing but support, and I can just tell, they're all excited, and I'm excited too. So I, just can't wait for the future, and can't wait to be able to spend moments with them, and also with my teammates. So I'm excited.
Sean Hammond, Pro Football Weekly.
Hey, Justin, just curious, who did you emulate when you were growing up in the backyard? Who were your quarterback heroes? And two, as you got older, whose film did you study?
Yeah, I would say when I was, younger, like maybe 8th, 9th grade, it was more Cam Newton. But I would say, these past couple of years have kind of turned more into, a Russell Wilson type quarterback. So I've, watched a lot of film on him. I've watched a lot of highlights on him. So I think, the things that we can do on the field, with both of those quarterbacks, I think, we have a lot of similarities between, extending plays with our legs and, also having the arm talent. So I think those are, a couple of guys that I kind of emulate my game after.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Justin, I wanted to follow up on the question about epilepsy earlier. That came out through a leaked report last week, and I wanted to know how did you feel about that when it came out? Obviously, you hadn't kind of talked about that publicly at Ohio State.
Yeah.
How did that feel, and just kind of how did you kind of handle that?
I mean, it is what it is. It's a part of me. I'm not gonna, try to hide it. It's who I am. So there's no really reason trying to hide it. I'm just gonna just like I said before, I'm gonna continue to manage this and continue to play football like how I've always played football. So it's really nothing different for me. And of course, it came from a league source, but I'm not worried about that one bit. So I'm just happy to be here.
Dan Wiederer.
Justin, curious what in Russell's game impresses you the most, and what traits he has that you really are drawn to.
Yeah, just his deep ball is one. Just off the top of my head, the way he puts a lot of arc on it, his accuracy, of course, and just how he carries himself, as a leader, as a teammate, and I like his game. He's an accurate quarterback. He also uses his legs, so just stuff like that. I think those are some similarities that we have.
Coach Day also brought up the Indiana game, and others have brought it up as well as a game that translated into a learning experience for you. I'm curious how you felt about that game in the moment, and what lessons you took away from it, maybe in terms of pressing and some other things that you drew on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were a few plays in that game where I was just trying to be Superman. I was trying to do too much, throw the ball with guys on my back, and I was trying to take it back to I guess middle school days. But yeah, I definitely, learned a lot from that game, and keeping my team in the best position to win, and of course not putting my team at risk to turn the ball over. But yeah, I mean, I think that game was definitely a game that I'll remember for the rest of my life in terms of what I need to do to help my team in the best position to win and to be successful. So I usually learn from my mistakes, and I'm just going to learn from those ones.
Pat Finley, Chicago Sun-Times.
Hey Justin, how old were you when you first met Trevor Lawrence, and what is that? Go ahead.
I was probably I would say 10th grade, maybe.
10th grade. What is that kind of competitiveness been like between the two of you? Whether it's Elite 11, whether it's on the field, whether it's rankings coming out of high school, whether it's matchups in the playoffs in college, and now when you get drafted in the same year, do you find yourself comparing yourself to him and vice versa? And does it motivate you at all?
No, not really. I mean, I think, me and him are used to this. I mean, we've been at it for so long now. It seems like it's been a long time, but I think, me and him, of course, are both great quarterbacks, and I think we love this game. I think we both want to be great. So I'm not really saying that I'm necessarily trying to be better at him in this particular area. I'm just focused on myself and focused on being the best quarterback I can be for my teammates and for my coaches.
When the season starts, though, do you imagine you're gonna on Sunday afternoons when you get done with your job, gonna look and see how he did or follow him from afar?
I'm gonna be looking at everybody and to see how they did, not just Trevor. It's not a one-on-one thing. So I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope he has a great career down in Jacksonville.
Mark Grody, 670 The Score.
Your head coach said, Ryan Day at Ohio State said that, I just want to make sure I got it right. He says that you burn hot on the inside, even though a lot of times you can't see it because you kind of seem to have just a relaxed demeanor. Is that the right way to describe it? And where does that even keel come from?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Day, he's one of the coaches that knows me best. So he's definitely right about that one. And, I think the even keeledness comes from, just me, being in so many experiences, involving sports situations in my life. I've played up to, 4 sports growing up. So I'm just, failing at, different sports. I've always tried to, stay even keeled and kind of, try to keep my body language, neutral. So I think that's just where that comes from. My dad has harped on it from when I was a little kid to, just make sure I have good body language and, no matter how I'm feeling, just try not to let others see it. So, yes, sir.
And Justin, one other thing too. Do you feel like you could step on the field day one, game one in the NFL? Because right now the plan is to have Andy Dalton be the starting quarterback for the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, that's not up to me. That's up to coach, and my job is simply to perform the best I can perform, and be the best quarterback I can be. So I think that's a question for Coach Nagy.
Tim May.
Thank you very much. Hey, Justin, just real quick before I ask you my real question, did you feel there was an effort the last several weeks to somehow or another bring you down? I'm talking about from your perspective as you looked at some of the things that came out, much of which was bogus. Just how did you let that roll off your back?
I really can't do anything about it. There were some things said that of course weren't true, but hey, at this point, for me at least, the draft is over, and my focus is to turning to how can I help the Chicago Bears win. So I'm not really worried about what's has said in the past. That's all said and done with. So I'm here now, and I'm worried about the present. So.
And one other quickie, who's your favorite to be your successor at Ohio State? There's three guys at least in the running, and then what's the best thing you got from your relationship with Ryan Day the last 2 years that you'll carry with you?
If I went to more practices, I could probably give you a favorite, but I don't have one. But one thing I do know is all three of those quarterbacks down there, competitive. They're smart. They're very talented, and me and Coach Day, we've definitely had a great relationship over these past few years of my time being at Ohio State. But one thing about Coach Day is he's such a good coach. But a lot of you guys don't know this. He's an even better person. Just the things that he's taught me in life, and just the lessons he's taught me. It's just priceless. So I'm just grateful for all of that, for sure.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Bill from the Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Justin. In the course of this week, I talked to Wyatt Davis and Josh Byers. They didn't practice for the Alabama game because they were hurt. Ryan Day said today that you really didn't practice much. Could you kind of describe how much you did practice, how much that might have affected your performance, and in light of that, how tough was that matchup for you guys?
Yeah, I don't think me not practicing affected my performance. I think, me being injured that game, definitely, might have, impacted my performance that game, and, what I could have done in the national championship game. But, I think White and Josh, they're tough players. And of course, after the Clemson game, a good bit of us got beat up pretty well. But, I think, no matter how beaten up, we've all could have gotten, that was one more game left, so we were going to leave it all out on the line, regardless. But yeah, I mean, those guys are great guys, and they're definitely hard workers for sure.
And how much do you think could have been different if you guys had been fully healthy?
I think things could have went way differently. We'll really never know. So it's no really point in hoping for it. So yeah.
Larry Mayer, ChicagoBears.com.
Hey Justin, it looked like last year that there might not be a Big Ten season at all, and you were very active in getting that done and getting everyone on the field. Why was it important to you, number one, to play and not just kind of rest and prepare for the NFL draft? And secondly, why was it important to you to take such an active role in getting that done?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big thing for me to play, is because I've been playing the football since I was like 5 years old. So I mean, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 weeks into the season where the ACC and the SEC might have started playing last year, and my teammates and I were sitting at our apartments, literally watching their game. So I mean, that was the weirdest I had felt in a long time. So I wasn't trying to not play the whole season after, we went through winter workouts, summer workouts, and, me seeing the amount of work my teammates have put in the off season, and me knowing how much, they wanted to get back in that position to, be able to play Clemson again. I wasn't gonna or not wasn't, but I was going to do, everything that I could to, help get our season back. And one of the reasons why I kind of, pushed that petition was because, my social media is kind of on a bigger platform than, most other college players. So I thought that, the size of, my social media platform could have, reached, a lot of people across the country and, maybe have influenced the decision of, flipping the Big Ten decision to cancel the season.
We're going to do two more quick for Justin, followed by a quick photo op. Pat Finley, Chicago Sun-Times.
Justin, you talk about playing 4 sports growing up. What role did baseball play in your footwork? And how old were you when you decided that you wanted to focus your energies toward football more than anything else?
Yeah, I think, baseball, footwork, I don't know if it has so much to do with footwork, but I think it has something to do with throwing, the ball off platform, especially playing middle infield. You have to throw the ball on the run a lot and stuff like that. So I think that's where, baseball comes in to play in the quarterback position. And then also, what was your last question? I'm sorry, I forgot.
How old were you when you decided to push your chips in on football, and what went into that decision?
Oh, I've played baseball all the way up until my junior year. So after my senior year of football, I graduated early from high school and then just went to college. So I did it. I played baseball pretty much all the way until like the age of 4, all the way up to my junior year of high school.
Last one, Dan Wiederer.
Justin, just circling back to the conversation about the pandemic, the fall can seem so distant now. I'm wondering if you could put us back in your shoes in August and September and the level of restlessness you felt with the uncertainty that was surrounding you in regards to whether you're going to play and what you take out of that entire 2020 experience, which is obviously very unprecedented and unusual.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time, before they actually canceled the season, there was kind of a part in me that was saying, they're actually not going to do it. They're just saying that because, of course, the SEC and the ACC, they still had their seasons going on. But after that happened, it was like, wow, of course. And I guess, 2020 a recap, it was just a lot of trials that, myself and my teammates had to go through, of course, where we had coaches out of games, players out of games. So I think, going through, that, I guess, situation made us stronger individually and as a team and also as a brotherhood. So I think that made us come together as a team, and it really just made us stronger. So, I think if we wouldn't have gone through that, we wouldn't have been the same team. And I think that definitely made us more mentally stronger.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, media, hang tight here, and we'll have a quick photo op opportunity with Justin and his jersey.
Justin, congratulations. Welcome to Chicago.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I imagine these last 3 months have been exhausting for you in a lot of ways. I'm sure you probably haven't been through a process that has been so micro-analyzed in terms of picking apart your skill set, your strengths, your weaknesses. I'm curious, what of the criticisms over the last 3 months sort of impacted you the most, and how you kind of dealt with that over the last 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a lot of criticism, but me, at the end of the day, I feel like I know, myself. I know how much work I put in the game. I know how much I love the game. I know how much I want to be great. So it just comes a point in time where you just have to cut, all that criticism out. And of course, it's good to listen to the criticism you get from, people that are, actually there to help you. So if it was from a coach or anything like that, of course, I'm going to take that criticism. But I feel like, of course, there's a lot of, criticism coming from outside voices that didn't really matter. So I just, did my best to kind of cut all that out and really just get to work. So
what was tonight like for you, just sitting through those first 10 picks before you got the call at 11?
I'm the kind of guy that thinks that everything happens for a reason. So I think, this is God's plan for me to be a Bear. So I'm more than excited, and I'm, more than ready to get up there for sure.
Pat Finley, Chicago Sun-Times.
Hey, Justin, how did you find out that you were going to the Bears? What was that phone conversation like? And during the pre-draft process, did you have any hint that this might have been the outcome?
Yeah, so basically, you know, Coach Nagy called me up and just asked me if I was ready to be a Chicago Bear, and I told him, of course. I mean, so of course the phone call went well. You know, Coach Nagy's a great coach. He's a great person. I got to, you know, build a sort of a relationship, you know, with him, you know, these past couple of months. But, you know, just talking with him a little bit, you know, getting to know him, and then of course going back to hints. I don't think I had, you know, any hints. I had no idea, to be honest with you. So I was confident, you know, in myself. I guess to wherever I ended up, I was gonna, you know, be in the right place for me. So again, I'm excited.
Adam Hogue, NBC Chicago.
Justin, what can you tell us about, you mentioned building that relationship with Coach Nagy. What was it, over Zoom calls? At your pro day? What kind of interactions? Can you be a little bit more specific about all that?
Yeah, I would say most of it was during Zoom calls. Of course, we did, you know, have a little bit of conversation at my pro day, but most of it, you know, through Zoom calls, and it's just, you know, of course, just talking and, you know, getting to know him, you know, not only as a coach but as a person. So I'm pretty big on, you know, having great relationships with my coaches. I think, you know, that's the most effective way to, you know, be great and kind of be, you know, cooperative as a team. So just mainly through Zoom and a little bit at my pro day.
Larry Mayer, ChicagoBears.com.
Hey, Justin, what type of player and person would you say the Bears are getting in yourself, and what do you think is your number one strength?
I mean, you know, I think the kind of player the Bears are getting is a, you know, a versatile player that can, you know, make plays both with my arm and also with my legs, and of course a smart player, a player that's going to make smart decisions, and a player that, you know, that wants to win, that's willing to do whatever, you know, to win. So that's of course my number one job, however that may be, whether, you know, whatever my position may be on the team. But my number one strength, or was that the next question?
Yes.
My number one strength, I would just say my overall, not even my overall, but just, you know, showing up in big moments. I feel like when big moments present themselves, I feel like, you know, there's just another thing that kicks inside of me. But just you know, I think capitalizing in big moments, and of course, you know, playing well on big stages, I think that's definitely one of my strengths for sure.
Kevin Fishbane, The Athletic.
Hey, Justin, going back to Matt Nagy, based on your conversation with him and getting to know him, how do you think you fit with what he wants out of a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think I fit, you know, perfectly. You know, I think if he didn't think I fit well, he wouldn't have traded up. But I think, you know, just talking to him, you know, getting to know, I guess, how he communicates with his quarterbacks and his learning style, I think that, you know, that's going to make me a better quarterback, a better player. And, you know, he's going to teach me a lot. So I'm just, again, excited to get up there and learn.
Chris Emma, 670.
Justin, this is a franchise that struggles trying to find a franchise quarterback. What do you believe makes you the kind of guy who can be that quarterback for the Bears and for Chicago?
You know, just the way I carry myself, just the way I, you know, care about the game, the grit I have, the determination I have to be great. You know, I think, you know, nobody kind of has a story that I have. So just, you know, just everything inside of me, just wanting to be a great quarterback, wanting to be a franchise quarterback. And of course, me dreaming for this moment my whole life. So I think, you know, all those intangibles, my work ethic, you know, and, you know, all of that together will, of course, be different for me.
Jason Leisure, Chicago Sun-Times.
Justin, how much do you think the college experience will translate for you, given that you played at a big program and played against a lot of big programs like Alabama and Clemson? You've been on that stage.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think, you know, it'll translate well, especially with the fan base. You know, I know that, you know, Bears fans are very passionate about the football, and, you know, of course, so is Ohio State. So it's really kind of going I guess kind of in the same, aspect of things in terms of, seriousness and in terms of, a passionate fan base. So I think it'll definitely translate well, though, for sure.
We have time for two more here with Justin. Matt Zahn, CBS.
Justin, I know you said everything happens for a reason, but I assume you think you belonged among those top 3 quarterbacks. Does that put a chip on your shoulder as you come in to try to prove those guys wrong that didn't pick you up earlier?
No, not really. I mean, I've gone through situations where I haven't been chosen, and I think the world has seen the outcome of that. But my goal is not to worry about those teams. I mean, those teams have nothing to do with me. My goal is to, if we play that team, to beat them. So I'm not worried about the draft. The draft is over for me. For me personally, I'm ready to get to work.
Last one, Bill from the Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Justin. Congratulations. How hard was it just waiting? Everyone thought you were going to be a top 10 pick, and to not be a top 10 pick. How much did that bother you? What was your family like during that? How much did they kind of?
Yeah. I mean, just like I said, I felt like, my family was, more nervous than me, but I've been in so many, different situations in my life where, I think I want something. I think I, want to do this, but, God has a different plan for me. So just like I said before, I put, my full trust in God, and, he's put me in a perfect place for me, and, whatever his will is what's going to happen. So, again, I'm excited to be a part of this organization, and, just ready to get to work.
Thanks and congratulations.
We're all set for now. Thank you, Justin, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse. WCPT. WCPT.
This the coldest sports show. You were getting the hour from 6 p.m. to 7. Chillin' with Lauren Cox and the man Marvelous. Shout out to Mr. Rouse and the Italian style. You sports is the only politic.
WCPT. WCPT. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse.
All right, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go, Chicago. Let's go, Indiana. Northwest Indiana. Let's just rattle them off like we always do. Well, I used to do in the morning show a few years back. Let's go, Ohio. Because we're on the web, so they can certainly check us out. Orange State. Let's go, Bama. Let's go, Cali.
Roll Tide.
Let's go, the great state of Montana. Let's go, Arizona.
Big Sky.
Let's go, Florida. Mind your P's and Q's, Florida. Let's go, New York, the Big Apple. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm all pumped up. I'm on fire.
En fuego.
En fuego. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're streaming live on Facebook, broadcasting from the illustrious studios on WCPT 820 AM in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago, in the fantastic neighborhood of Jefferson Park on the city's north side. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not over at Guaranteed Rate to watch the Chicago White Sox go for the big old sweep. He's not over at Wrigley Field to watch the Cubs get ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not even over at the United Center trying to figure out what the heck is going on with your Chicago Bulls. What the heck is going on with your Chicago Blackhawks? No, ladies and gentlemen, he's not even over at Wintrust Arena over there watching the DePaul Blue Demons with Dana Stubblefield as their head coach over there trying to figure out things. Ladies and gentlemen, he's in the studios of WCPT. He's known as the Marvelous One. You love him. He is the one. He's the only. He's the man. He's the Marvelous Marvel. What's up, Marvel? How are you?
Jerry, what are you so wired up for?
Hey, I don't know, man.
Sunday, Chicago.
Sunday.
2 games simultaneously in the Chicago. 2 Major League Baseball games played at the same time. When does that happen? You know what I mean?
No, it's
very,
fantastic.
very
I mean, it's we used to do that back in the day. As you well know, I was a vendor. And, when it was a rare time when both teams were in town.
Yeah. But not only that, I mean, it's Tony Stubblefield, by the way. But
I
it's
know
not only
that. I know
but there was, our play-by-play announcers on the TV and radio are so important that it came down to, we had Connor McKnight doing the White Sox game and Matt Spiegel doing the Cubs game on radio today. I swear, because now
you don't have to swear. I know that.
Yeah, we got these very important announcers now who have other obligations.
They should ask the Marvelous One to sit in there.
I could have stepped in if Spiegel and McKnight can do it. I can do it.
Oh, boom, shakalaka! And
live from Wrigley Field.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the fastest hour in sports conversation. We want you to be a part of it. Our number here is 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT, and the voice of the Chicago Cubs, the voice of the Chicago White Sox, then Marvelous Marver. Go ahead, Marvelous, take it away.
I saw a nice article too about an announcer that a lot of people don't know about, Jack Quinlan. It was a Cubs announcer, the 50s and the 60s, until he unfortunately died in a car crash in Arizona in '67. And I was actually at the spring training when that happened in '67, if you can believe it.
Really?
When he actually passed. So
really?
It was a car crash, but he was and they're talking about his daughter who lives in Evanston wants to get him in the Hall of Fame and that, but he was actually he was only there for a dozen years or so, but he was a great announcer, but he's like an unknown because it's a long time ago, and he wasn't there long.
Well, I mean, I think he's actually on the wall in the cafeteria area at Chicago Cubs for the media room. They have a wall, the Fred Frick Award winners, and I forget the other wall with the particular recipients. But I think he's actually on the wall there. Yeah,
and of course he went to the New Trier High School too.
Oh, did he? Yeah. The New Trier High School. Ladies and gentlemen, anything in the world of sports you want to talk about, we're right here for you. We're here for the fastest hour in sports conversation, commercial free. Jerry Riles, the Marvelous One, Dan Marvin. Marvin, before we get into our baseball conversation, and we got some great guests on tap to be joining us shortly. Talk some Cubs, talk some White Sox, talk Chicago sports. But I wanted to pick your brain real quick regarding. I didn't get an opportunity to really see the tweet that was taken down by this generation's king. That, of course, LeBron Jordan. Is that funny? I called him LeBron Jordan, LeBron James, but he
it was threatening.
Supposedly he sent out a tweet. So the verdict came down. This is the first time we're on the air since it happened this week regarding Derek Chauvin, the officer who was in charge 3 counts, guilty on all 3 counts of murder of George Floyd back in. Last year, was it March 25th or May 25th? May 25th in Minneapolis. We've seen the video and all that stuff, but he was found guilty on all 3 charges, and he could get a maximum of 40 years in prison. And it was a sigh of relief, I think, not only in the state, not only in Chicago, not in the state of Illinois, but throughout the country and around the world. I think everyone was waiting to see what the verdict was going to be.
Yeah.
And I got to say thank you to the great Joan Esposito. She's on here Monday through Friday, 2P to 5P. Does a heck of a job, an outstanding job. But I was acting as a reporter for the station around Chicago and giving updates and a scene setter for Joan. And when the verdict came down, Marvelous, I started in Evanston at Northwestern University to see if I can get the reaction of the college students, get the reaction of the Jacob Blake family, and of course, reparations that happened recently in Evanston. Nothing. It was business as usual. So I made my way south on Lakeshore Drive. I get to Oak Street Beach, get off, and start heading south on a Magnificent Mile. Again, nothing. There were police present, but not an extra amount of them. There weren't many called in. There were stores boarding up. The Disney store was boarding up. The Rolex store, of course, was boarding up. There were other stores boarding up, but nothing. I made my way toward the river. I seen the great Liz Nagy of ABC 7. I love her. She's fantastic. But it's interesting. Every time I'm out doing something for the station, I see Liz Nagy. Yeah. I go, "Hey, Nagy! Nagy!" And she looked up, and I go, I give her a thumbs up. Keep up the good work.
I thought you were calling for the coach of the Bears.
She should. Yeah. She should. But she does a heck of a job. But she was over there at the Wrigley Building. Is it still called the Wrigley Building?
I think so.
Outside of, the Wrigley Building, near the river. And I get down Magnificent Mile. Nothing. Yeah. I head down more to Michigan in front of the Bean. Nothing. Yeah. I make her around the Daily Plaza and City Hall. Nothing. I continue to head south, the South Loop. I get down to the 35th Street in Michigan police station over there. Nothing. I see the great Dane Placco of Fox 32. He's out there. I'm like, what? There's nothing going on. Joan gets me on the horn. I go, "Joan, there's nothing going on. There's nothing happening."
You would have seen something if, God forbid, it had been a different verdict.
Oh, man, and that's the thing. I know, me personally, your mind is an incredible thing that we have, right? Yeah. It's an incredible computer.
Right.
And leading up to this, you're all sorts of thoughts are running through my mind, because I'm like, if Maxine Waters, the great representative, Maxine Waters, she said last weekend when she was in Minneapolis, she said, if this guy doesn't get guilty all across the board, she told the protest, she said, tell her, stay out there.
Yeah.
Confrontation with the police. Stay out there. If this guy doesn't get across the board.
You know what the judge said? That's a problem.
I heard what the judge said.
It's going to be a problem for sentencing, maybe, and for an appeal.
Well, here's the deal, because she was speaking, and she was speaking as a leader representing many people who felt enough was enough. And here's the scary thing about the verdict is the fact that we saw it was 8 minutes, initially 8 minutes and 29 seconds or something of that nature. It ended up 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Yeah. This guy had his knee on this guy's neck after he was dead. And so Maxine Waters said, "Hey, if he doesn't get guilty across the board, stay out there." And so a lot of people, including yours truly, we were on pins and needles.
Yeah,
we were on pins and needles because we remembered Rodney King, we remembered O.J. Simpson. Sure. We were on pins and needles, man, and it was a powder keg waiting to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah. Rodney King, it was actually unbelievable. That
was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable because we saw the footage. We saw the video.
There's footage there too. But I just want to clarify. You're talking about LeBron. His tweet was about the Ohio incident, where it wasn't about the Chauvin.
Right. Well, it was based on that because he sent the tweet out and said, "You're next."
Yeah. Right.
He said, "You're next."
Yeah.
After the Chauvin verdict came down, and he immediately pulled that off.
Right.
And he's been getting some backlash. He's been getting pounded by a lot of course, those on the right. They've been pounding LeBron James because of that. Now, my initial and first reaction was the fact, again, and I understand, and some people love Charles Barkley, some people don't. But Charles Barkley years ago, as we know, the phrase, the saying, "I'm not a role model."
Right.
I'm not a role model. And too many times I think we look for athletes to be that role model outside of their comfort zone or their venue, whether it's whatever sport they're playing.
Right.
I don't need LeBron James to represent the leadership as far as the African American community is concerned. Now, I know there are people out there that would disagree with that.
Right. Well, did you hear about the bar in Ohio? I mean, this bar is open. I guess that's one bit of information. In Cincinnati, this bar owner says NBA games won't be televised as an establishment as long as LeBron James is a member of the league.
Right, exactly.
If anyone wants to watch an NBA game, don't come to it's Lenny's Pub. Jay Linneman, owner of Cincinnati's Lenny Pub, wrote on Facebook in regard to the controversy surrounding Lakers star. We will not air them until LeBron James has been expelled from the league. He believes basketball players just need to play the game, and that's all. End of quote. And their opinion really doesn't matter. End of quote. So,
no, I don't. I heard about that, and I understand that the NBA and the African American players, professional athletes, all in all, they have tremendous power because, and especially in the NBA, because they have the leverage now, and I understand. But for LeBron James, in my opinion, to send out, and he was smart enough to pull it out, to pull it back. Yeah. But there, to me, you got to be very, very careful, especially because the world that we're living in and social media, those sort of things, especially coming from a person of that stature, you got to be very, very careful about what you're putting out there in the public eye.
Yeah.
Because people will take information and they would interpret it the way they want to interpret it, and they'll run with it. And you may have meant one thing, but it comes across as another. And a lot of cases, it may not be a pretty picture. So I do want LeBron James to represent his generation, and I do want him to be a leader. But you could be a leader in other ways.
Yeah.
And I don't think taking to social media the way that he did, and of course he knew it was a mistake, and that's why he pulled it back. But I don't think you have to be a leader and voice your opinion via social media in a way that it can be misconstrued. Because if you recall, athletes always they'll say something after a game, and then they read it the next day or see it in print, and they go, "Oh, I was taken out of context. I didn't say that." Yeah. And I understand that. The same way applies with social media and the information that you put out there, because maybe you're upset or you're elated or whatever the case may be. You're emotionally attached to it. But then when you come back and say, man, did I really say that? Did I really put that out there? So if you're going to do what you're going to do as far as a leader is concerned, I get it. Take care of the kids in Cleveland and Akron and Ohio. I get it. Build some houses. Do whatever you have to do. But when it comes to the social media thing, in my opinion, step back and step away.
I think the post had a picture of the Ohio cop with the words "You're next," which was which was interpreted as threatening.
That incident in Columbus, God bless the young lady and her family. That was just a.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the video of that.
Sure, repeatedly.
Oh my goodness, that was a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But, and again, I can get on this soapbox.
Yeah.
And I got to say this. There are good cops, there are bad cops.
Yeah.
It's just like there are good people, there are bad people.
Yeah.
But I got to say to you, and I told our listeners last week, I got picked up for curfew. I was probably like 15 years old, and I got picked up for curfew on the south side. It was 10:35. Curfew was at 10:30. Cops picked me up, and they said, "What are you doing out here?" And I go, "I just come from the store." Right? And they drove me around the block, and they dropped me off to the house. They said, "Boy, stay in school and get home before curfew."
Yeah.
And I, thank you, officer. And I went in the house, and I got to deal with my parents because they're like, "What the hell are you doing out?" Right? But I was going to the store, not to say that that's at any rate. My point being, I complied with the officer, right? And I did what I was supposed to do, and I got home. What I'm just saying, right or wrong, let them figure it out through the system if you can. And a lot of people gonna come at Jerry, you can't. You know how to. I understand how the system is, but don't put yourself in a compromising situation. That 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with the Chicago police, if you live in the city's south side and the west side, if you try to challenge it and do street justice, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna turn out good. It's not going to turn out good. So don't put yourself in a compromising situation. Don't put your family in a compromising situation. Don't put your loved ones in a compromising situation when you're dealing with the cops. Because at the end of the day, if you try to handle it on the street, with street justice or whatever the case may be, it's not going to be a happy, pretty ending. It's not. That's just my soapbox public service announcement to you out there listening to the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM. Let's go out to our phones. Ed is on the north side chiming in. Ed, welcome. How are you, my good friend?
How you doing? Let me give my opinion on, excuse me, LeBron James' tweet. I think he was talking about the young girl who got shot and killed for having a knife while she was attacking.
In Columbus, Ohio.
Correct. That's what
Yeah,
he said.
okay, yeah. Whatever it is, it's just one of many incidents, okay? And in this particular case, the police may have been right. She was attacking the girl with a knife. I don't know. But his point I agree with, that, we should all stand up for injustice. And there's too much of this going on with the police. Even if this was a justifiable shooting, there's too many that are not, okay? So I agree with LeBron coming out with that statement. To me, that's just like kneeling during the national anthem. You're protesting. You're tired of it. Okay? That's the way I see it. And he's making a point that now we have seen some police officers get convicted of murder. We had 3 of them. We had Muhammad Nur in Minnesota, who shot a white woman who was visiting her fiancé. She came from Australia. We had Jason Van Dyke, who murdered Laquan McDonald, and we had Derek Chauvin, who murdered George Floyd. And to me, LeBron's point is this: the days of cops murdering people and not having to go to trial are over, and that's what I agree with him about.
Oh, yeah. And thank you so very much. We always appreciate listening to you and hearing you join us on the Rewind Sports 60 here on WCPT 820 AM. No, I understand the point. But honestly, I don't need LeBron James to put that out there. Yeah. I personally don't need LeBron James to do that.
Right. Well, to me, the Ohio incident isn't anything like the unarmed folks being killed. This was an armed woman. And there was some talk, talk about a warning shot. I mean, the bullet has to land somewhere. Shoot the leg. I mean, with the
16-year-old in Columbus?
Yeah,
there was no warning shot.
No, I know there's no warning shot, and they shoot for the mass, because if you try to shoot a leg, it's going to ricochet off the car. You're going to hit the victim. So obviously there were no good choices there, but it looked like in the video that the woman that was shot was about to plunge a knife into the other person's.
She was.
throat.
I mean, she was. I thought the young girl got stabbed because the motion was coming down. Her right hand with the object in it, the knife or whatever the sharp instrument was in her hand, was coming down to strike the young lady who was pent up against the car, and the cop. And it looked like he had no choice.
Right. And the cop wasn't just driving by; he was called to the scene.
It was a chaotic scene. Yeah. It was a chaotic scene.
I saw. It looked like first the woman went to the ground in the video. Didn't it look like that to you? And then she popped up. She did go to the ground. Right.
She was lunging at the young girl in the pink suit, the pink warm up suit. Right. The cop shot her. She immediately fell down to the ground. Yeah. She kind of rolled on her right side, and then she rolled back on her left, and then she was sitting up, propped up against the car, the vehicle.
Right.
And that was it. Yeah. Again, I am elated. Yeah. I'm elated that this Chauvin character got the book thrown at him.
But we don't know what the sentence is going to be. It's not going to be life. It's not going to be the death penalty.
It's going to be 40 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's going to be 40 years. Yeah. I mean, he's guilty on all charges. It's going to be 40 years. Mm-hmm. The maximum, the second-degree murder charges, carries a maximum of 40 years. Okay. The other one, the third-degree murder charges, carries 25 years, I think, sentencing, and then the manslaughter carries like 5 to 7 or something of that nature. So he's going to get 40 years in prison. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. He needed the book thrown at him, and it was a breath of fresh air, but it's not a matter of celebration because there's a lot more work to be done. But as far as the 16-year-old situation with the girl in Columbus, it's a sad and unfortunate situation. But again, I say don't put yourself in a compromising situation, because if you're going to leave it in the hands of the police, you're not going to prevail.
Yeah.
You're not going. There's no way that you're going to say, "I can win. I can defeat this."
Right.
It's not going to happen. But don't put yourself in a compromising situation, Marvelous.
Yeah, there's even the young Master Toledo case in Chicago where the minor was shot. So I mean, there's all kinds of different cases. They're not all all the same, obviously, but they're all pretty awful.
Yeah, but here's the deal. We're going to go to our guest real quick. But again, the 13-year-old Toledo situation. A 13-year-old child should not be outside at 2:30 in the morning running down the alley from police with a gun in his hand and try to throw it away to act innocent. This, of course, after the cops received phone calls from multiple gunshots being shot in the area. And, of course, we've seen video footage of the 21-year-old and the 13-year-old boy allegedly shooting at a vehicle driving down the street before the police arrived on the scene.
Sure.
There's no way that a 21-year-old man should be hanging out with a 13-year-old boy unless they're relatives. That shouldn't happen. Secondly, a 13-year-old child should not be out on the streets at 2:30 in the morning. I mean, you just shouldn't have unless you're with your mother and your father coming from your relative's house. But a 13-year-old kid should not be out with a 21-year-old man that is not related to him at 2:30 in the morning with a gun running down the street. You can't do it. So don't put yourself in a compromising situation. You can't do it. Stop it. It's ridiculous. Because we all have to deal with this stuff.
Amen.
And the South Side, the West Side, let me get off the soapbox because it just infuriates me. Yeah, the cops. There are some bad cops out there. There are bad cops out there, and there are some cops. They don't like black people. They don't like brown people. They don't want to see They don't want to see it, and they will do whatever they can in their power because they have the badge, because they have the gun. They will drive while being black. That happens. I've been profiled myself, and I complied. I was not wrong, but I complied because I knew the alternative wouldn't be a pretty picture. It wouldn't be a pretty picture. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to our phone lines. I love this guy. He's fantastic. He's outstanding. He's a Chicago sports talk radio legend, an icon. And he's just a good dude and a fun guy. And he's on our TRS60 hotline. He's a friend of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the one, the only. He's Harry Tynowitz. Harry, how are you, man?
I'm good, Riles. You know, it's so much fun to argue with you, but I've been listening for the last 7-8 minutes, and you yet to say something wrong, surprisingly.
Hey, Harry, I sometimes, and maybe it's CPT, 8:20 a.m., but sometimes when I'm sitting in this seat and I'm doing this show, you know, based on this world that we live in and the city that we live in, I tend to get on my soapbox. And sometimes, you know, I get on the soapbox and Marvelous has to pull me off the soapbox because I don't know when to get off of it. But, so, you know, a lot of this stuff sometimes, man, that we live, this world, this beautiful world that we live in and this beautiful city that we live in, unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be beautiful. But, I mean, you know, we got some undesirables out there on law enforcement, but, of course, in the hood as well. There are some undesirables. And, hey, listen, in the hood, when you grow up, you know who to stay away from and you know who to run to. There are some undesirables in the hood. And when things go wrong, a lot of times you point to the undesirables. And when you point to the undesirables, 9 times out of 10, you might be right. 9 times out of 10, you might be right. But I just see, you know, with the violence and everything that's going on in this great city of ours, you know, something's got to stop. And it's got to start at home, in my opinion. And you know, Big Mama's she's got to reel them in. She's got to say, hey, enough of this nonsense. We got to stop this crazy mishap that's going on. Because as long as Big Mama is not saying anything, these undesirables, this riffraff, they're going to run around and continue to terrorize the neighborhoods like they're doing. And we're going to continue to see this nonsense occur day in and day out. So, Harry, let me get off the soapbox. Go ahead.
Yeah, come on, Marvelous. Do your job.
Marvelous. Hey, Harry, this is Marvelous. Hey, were you really in Risky Business, the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that.
Okay, you can verify. I thought you vetted your guest.
Okay.
Hey, Harry, we want to take some time out to invite you on and just say hello and see how you're doing, first of all. It's been a while since you've been on with us, of course, with the pandemic and everything, but a good friend of ours, and you certainly have a good relationship with this former Chicago Bear player, Steve Mongo McMichael, who was diagnosed with ALS this week, and I guess he was diagnosed actually a few months ago, late last year, and now I understand he's using a powered wheelchair, and he has limitations as far as his arms and legs are concerned. But the fact that Steve Mongo McMichael, number 76 for your Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears from way back in the day, is diagnosed with ALS. What was your reaction when you learned of that?
I mean, it really knees you in the gut, and he was maybe the strongest guy, on that entire team. Just pure brute strength, and certainly the greatest, outgoing character. And for him to be dealing with this, it doesn't seem fair. It's not fair for some. What's happening in the world is not fair. But I mean, this has been going on for a long time. It's just, good people have been dealing with, getting diseases like this, and I hope to God that Mongo, I know there's no cure as we speak for ALS, but, I hope that Mongo can find a way to, somehow come out of this on the good end. I know that Chicago stepped up, Bears fans stepped up and started filling the page of GoFundMe for him. And he's just been, he's a wonderful guy. He won the Super Bowl, and he's just got such great character. Those shows when he was with Gene Greco on Channel 5, those shows were hysterical. And to get to hang out with him at the radio station and get to do events with him, he always had time for everybody. He's just such, a cool dude, and he's so damn likable. I hope he can somehow survive this.
I hope that he can survive it as well. And we're on with the great Harry Tynowitz, who had an opportunity to work with Steve Mongo McMichael over at WMVP AM 1000 years ago. But I hope that he can somehow, some way, get through this. But as you stated, there is no cure for ALS, the Lou Gehrig disease, and he's certainly going to need a lot of family support, a lot of friend support, and just Chicago support to get through this. Former football coach over at the great St. Rita High School, Jim Angston, who I love dear and dear to my heart, but unfortunately he passed away I think a couple years ago with ALS, and he was a stud. He was a true man. He was a good man. He was a honorable man, but he was a football coach on the city south side, and unfortunately, ALS took him away from us too soon as well a couple years back. So I am familiar with it, but I hope that the great Steve Mongo McMichael can get all the support that he certainly needs to battle through this, Harry.
There are people that you look at and say, well, they could never be affected. They could never be taken down. They're too strong. They're too tough, and it can get after anybody. And it's just not fair. And I remember we used to do a holiday dinner, and we would go somewhere cool. And one year we were going to what was the name of the place? Went for dinner to a real nice Chicago restaurant. We invited Mongo. We invited Misty, and Misty brought the bag. She brought her bag, and the bag was moving. Well, why is your bag moving?
Right.
What the hell, Jude? Did you steal something? Well, why is your bag moving? And they had brought the animal. They had brought the animal into the restaurant, and the owner of the restaurant knew it. The waiters knew it. The guy who ran the place knew it, and nobody was going to say anything to Mongo. He's Mongo, you know.
Right.
You just you let him get away with stuff like that. But he's just, and he had, like I said, he had time for everyone. You could, you know, people could talk to him, and he would talk to you about anything, not just football. He talked to you about anything, and he was just, you know, at the peak of Bears' popularity, Mongo was about as popular as you get, and it's already crazy that we lost Sweetness off that team. Because Sweetness might have been the greatest running back to ever play the game, you know, if not the greatest football player to ever play the game. And now the toughest guy on that defense, Mongo, is dealing with something that seems like it's totally unfair. And I just want him to get it. I think Mongo's dealt with two incredible things, you know, a bad first marriage and now getting ALS. So hopefully he can survive. This one as he did first marriage.
Yeah, Harry, this is Dan here. I was remembering, other than his great football talent, the famous seventh inning stretch at Wrigley Field, where he's the only person to ever be tossed out of the game, so to speak, because of what he said after the seventh inning.
With the home plate up.
Yeah, right. The ump. Yeah, that was unbelievable.
We have some speaks. We have some speaks.
Yeah, well, talking to. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem like that was the time and the place for it, but that was the beauty of Mongo.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, there's a reason to remember Dick as take me out to the ball game.
Yeah.
There's a reason to remember Denny Savard to take me out to the ball game, and the most fun one is to remember why Mongo did it. You know, and why Mongo got ticked up at the umpire, and we're gonna have some speaks after the game. What are speaks? What the hell are speaks?
Hey, that's Mongo talk, man. And when Mongo talks, hey, let me tell you something. That's I'm not really afraid of, like, except my mother, my daughters, my wife. I mean, I'm afraid of people like that, but not too many people terrify me. But there's a few people on that team that you say, hey man, I'm just gonna toe the line. You don't even want to toe the line with him, Mongo, because you never knew what that guy was gonna do, and he didn't care. I mean, if you mouth off to that dude, you just didn't really know what that dude was going to do, and he could do whatever he wanted to do. So that's one thing. Otis Wilson is another one. Still today, I'll stand in the corner when I see Otis Wilson. I don't know about you, Harry, but Otis still gives you a glare like he's still playing. He'll look at you if you. I'm like, okay, Otis, I'm just kidding. Hey, take it easy, relax, take it easy. But I mean, no wonder that team, that defensive unit, goes down in history in my book as the best to ever suit up and play in the National Football League, Harry, because with all those characters on that football team, and kudos to Mike Ditka and Buddy Ryan, may he rest in peace, to be able to manage all those crazy egos on that football team. Those guys were maniacs. So can you imagine if you're lining up against them? I
wouldn't want to do it.
No,
I wouldn't want the sack man coming at me. There's no way.
No,
I would just take a knee.
My friends and I were very lucky. We got to go to the Super Bowl, and not the fake one that Rex played, but the actual Super Bowl. And Thayer said that if he didn't, he blames himself. I don't think that's accurate, but he blames himself for running into Peyton and causing the fumble. But if he says that if he didn't cause the fumble, New England would have never gotten the ball. New England would have never gotten 3 points, and there's no way the defense would have allowed Buddy Ryan to take them off the field in the fourth quarter. And Mongo used to believe that, he would tell me all the time, because no, we weren't coming out. If we were scoring, if they weren't scoring, we weren't coming out. That should have been the only shutout in the history of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That should not have been, right. I mean, that's the greatest defense. As great as Baltimore's defense was.
Yeah.
And a couple other teams. The Bears' Super Bowl winning defense that took down New England, in the Sam Adams helmets. That was the best. That was the best defense I ever saw in a Super Bowl.
I believe again, and I tell my wife and I tell my kids, listen, Harry. I tell them, I go, listen to me, listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. I said, I've never ever, and I've been watching football, Harry. You've been watching football, but I've been for years. I've never ever seen 11 grown men who are so-called professional athletes being paid, decent money at the time. I've never seen 11 grown men afraid to go out on the football field because of the team across the field. I've never ever seen that before in my life until I saw the Chicago Bears.
I guess Buddy Ryan told him the night before the game that he was leaving. It was a done deal. He was going to Cleveland. he was going to Philadelphia, and Mongo stood up. He took a chair and he threw it into where the film was being shown.
Yeah.
And it just stuck there.
Like Woody Hayes.
And and just Woody Hayes. Really, does everything have to come back to Ohio State? Oh my God, Woody freaking Hayes we're talking about.
Well, he did that.
The greatest defense in the history of the Super Bowl, and you find a way to bring up Woody Hayes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, because Woody Hayes.
I hope we.
No. They call me assassin. Jack Tatum. Jack Tatum say they were sitting in the film room. Woody Hayes got pissed. He took the chair and threw it and stuck in the four legs stuck in the wall there. It's just stuck in the wall there. Yeah. That's where it comes from. Come on now, Harry. Stay with me.
Hey, come on. Did he try to punch the linebacker? Did he wait till the game?
Take it easy. Take it easy. Hey, Harry.
I'm just saying.
Harry.
Yeah.
We miss you. We love you. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. What's going on in Harry's world, real quick, before we spring you?
Well, there's big money on the Oscars tonight. There's a lot of big
an
money.
Oscar gamble?
Money on every.
Oscar gamble? What are you talking about?
No.
Oscar Gamble had the best hair, didn't he?
He did.
For all the pros.
Yeah.
Oscar Gamble had the best fro. He was a Cub and a White Sox. But no, the action, you could bet anything. And the smart money is coming in on Nomad's Land. And,
Great movie.
I'm just, looking forward. I haven't seen it. Was it a good movie?
That was a great movie. It kept me compelled. It was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I really did.
Well, and then my money's on.
Did you throw a chair into the screen when you were done with it?
No, you know what? I actually drew a picture of me throwing a chair into the wall there, but
Now, you guys sound like Bobby Knight. My money's on Chadwick Boseman for Best Actor.
Chadwick Boseman, yeah.
He should get. They've got to find a way to give him an award. So last time they get a chance, they better find a way to give him an award.
Yeah.
But I'm getting ready to watch the Oscars, and I've got a play that I wrote that is coming out in December, and it'll be out in Chicago at the Greenhouse Theater, December 5th. Spike Manton, a former radio partner,
really?
With me, and yes. I wrote a one-act play, a one-man play, and he goes, this is surprisingly good, and which is both an insult and a compliment all at the same time. Somehow he did that, and he goes, "Why don't we make it a full cast?" So we made it a full cast, and it's some guy read it and bought it, and December 5th it'll be out. So. Looking forward to a serious subject, but it's comedy, so looking forward to that. And hopefully Mongo will be there on opening night.
Hey, Harry, thank you so very much. We always love talking with you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for being a friend of the program. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep us in tune. And you know where to send the tickets when everything opens up on December 5th, my good friend. Take care, okay?
Riles, how come you the You're the man. My daughter goes to Michigan State. I told her any school but Michigan, so she listened. So
awesome.
That was good.
Yeah.
All right. Dangerous. Take care. I'll talk to you guys later.
Take care, brother. Harry Tynowitz on our TR60 hotline, ladies and gentlemen. And I threw the Oscar Gamble piece in there because we transition to the World Series bound Chicago White Sox over on the South Side, guaranteed rate. Congratulations to the White Sox on an 8-4 victory over the Texas Rangers. And ladies and gentlemen, he is a friend of the program as well. He's on our TR60 hotline. He is the Sox beat writer for your Chicago Tribune. He's on our TR60 hotline, ladies and gentlemen. He's known as Lamont Pope. Lamont, how are you doing, man?
Fantastic. How are you?
Hey, man, thank you so very much. And I know you were over there at Guaranteed Rate taking in the Chicago White Sox victory, and they've now made it 4 in a row. hey, they started off kind of sluggish. They had people kind of wondering, hey, is this team really Super Bowl? Is this team really World Series bound? They're losing here. Their pitching's not doing well. What's going on here? Seems like Tony La Russa, he's that old DeSoto. It takes him a little while to get warmed up, but once that thing gets going, hey, they start churning out, and the White Sox bats are starting to come to life, man. 2 games over 500. What was a game like this afternoon over at the Guaranteed Rate, my good friend?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I mean, you start out with the pitching. I mean, obviously Michael Kopech getting his second start of the season. You know, they've been using him mostly out of the bullpen. Last week he started against Boston and had a really strong start, first start since 2018. And today had him start again because Lucas Giolito had a little bit of a cut on his middle finger of his pitching hand, so they were going to push him on back till Tuesday. So, Michael, anytime you get Michael Kopech on the mound, that's always a big story, and he was fantastic. 10 strikeouts in 5 innings, just dazzling throughout the game, and then the offense. I mean, they gave him a lot of support early on. Jose Abreu with the 2-run home run in the first inning, and he built out an 8-1 lead, and they were able to kind of cruise from there. And so all around, everything was clicking today, and that's a good sign for this team.
Oh, and the crowd was stunned. The crowd was stunned. No, you know what? It was great to see him get an opportunity to get out there. Now, Giolito, he's expected. The Sox have the day off on Monday, and they get back to business over at the Rate on the South Side on Tuesday. Is he expected to get the start? Yeah. Tell us what happened with the injury. He cut his finger on a bottle or something.
Yeah, that's kind of a strange injury. You know, you always hear those strange baseball injuries, and this is definitely one of those. He said that he thought it was a glass, and so he went to go ahead and pick it on up, and yeah, he cut his finger there, and it was Monday in Cleveland, and so he says that he's good to go for Tuesday afternoon. You know, obviously, like you said, they have Monday off, and so and he wants to have that bounce back performance. Monday was his last outing in Boston, and he didn't get out of the second inning, and so he was looking forward to getting back on that mound. A little bit of a delay with the injury, but he sounds like everything's going to be good to go for him to go Tuesday night against the Tigers. Yeah, hopefully he'll be back to snuff. But as far as this White Sox team is concerned, now you were in the press box when Lance Lynn threw the no-hitter.
Rodon.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Lance Lynn because he's been pitching his tail off as well. But Carlos Rodon, you were in the press box when he threw the no-hitter. What was your thoughts sitting there as inning after inning after inning? The tension began to mount. What was your thoughts and the feelings of witnessing that? And was that the first time you've seen a no-hitter in your life? Yeah, that was such a strange game from the standpoint of the night before, the offense, they were limited to 3 hits against Shane Bieber in a 10-inning game. Just fantastic pitching duel between Bieber and Giolito. But then the first inning, the next night against Zach Plesac, they come on out, they score 6 runs on 7 hits. And so my early story, I think, is going to be all about the offense. Mercedes hits a bomb, hits a home run, and you're thinking, all right, well, the offense getting their groove back on, and that's going to be the story of my game. But then, like you said, you keep looking up, there's another zero. There's another zero. There's another zero. And so, he's flirting with perfection, and you get to the 7th inning, you get to the 8th inning, you're like, oh man, this can really happen. And I was fortunate to be in the press box last year for Lucas Giolito's no-hitter, and in that instance, it was a little bit more of, Giolito the outing before had a really strong performance against the Detroit Tigers. I remember thinking in that game, Giolito had no hit stop, and so when he was able to back it on up, the Tigers eventually got hit. But then the next outing against the Pirates, he had that no hit stuff going again. It was just as sharp. 13 strikeouts, 1 walk, and then this in this outing, it was more it wasn't an overpowering outing until a little bit later on. And as the outing got stronger, as the evening wore on, Carlos got stronger, right? He threw up in the upper 90s as the night went on, and so he got better as the evening went along. And then for a situation where you're in the 9th inning, you got a perfect game going, and then you get a slider that just nicks the toe of Perez to break up the perfect game. But for him to bounce on back, to remain focused, and then to finish off the no-hitter, I think that says a lot about his mindset and his ability to sort of shake that off. I lost the perfect game, but to be able to still finish things on out, get the last 2 outs for a no-hitter, that says an awful lot for him going forward as well. Yeah, you know what? And I got to say that I'm proud of him, and congratulations to Carlos Rodon, because I've been one of those guys, Lamont, to say, for years, since he's been in the Sox organization, that he's done. He doesn't have it. He's not going to be able to put everything together. And I just didn't understand why the White Sox brass and Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn and Jerry Reinsdorf, for that matter, continue to believe in this kid. I just didn't understand it because I felt that we could move on and we could focus on, developing some other pitchers or getting some other pitchers. But, he proved me and a lot of people wrong, Carlos Rodon, that he still has some stuff. And, the Sox tendered him and we see what's going on. And I think it's a great boost for the entire White Sox pitching staff because I truly believe, and I said Lance Lynn, and we see what Kopech has done. Giolito he's the man. This pitching staff for the Chicago White Sox, to me, they're chomping at the bit. And once the temperatures start to warm up, and we're going to be in the 70s and 80s this week, but when we get to midsummer and the All-Star break and all that, how deadly do you think this pitching staff for the Chicago White Sox will be by that time?
Yeah, I want to go back a little bit what you're talking about with Carlos there. I mean, what a story just about perseverance, right? Here's someone, as you said, non-tendered. He's dealt with a ton of injuries throughout his entire career, and he said that stuff sort of motivated him, being non-tendered, having to deal with the injuries. He wanted to prove to himself and to the White Sox that he could be healthy, and he was a number 3 overall draft pick, right? And so what comes with that, with a lot of expectations. So he wanted to prove to himself that, hey, if I'm healthy, this is how I can pitch. And so far, he's been able to show that. I mean, even the bounce back, even the outing after the no-hitter, he threw a lot of pitches, but he was able to get on through 5 innings and get the Sox in a position to win that ball game. And so throughout this entire season, they started in Seattle, the no-hitter, and then the backup start against his next start against the Indians. I mean, he's shown an awful lot so far this season. But then kind of backpedaling that into the rest of the rotation. I mean, you mentioned Giolito, you mentioned obviously Dallas Keuchel. He had a nice start last night as well. And so they had a staff. This staff was going to be, there were a lot of expectations with this staff. When you have a staff that has, or even a starting rotation that has 3 guys that received American League Cy Young Award votes last season in Giolito, Lance Lynn, and Dallas Keuchel, that's going to be a staff that's going to be dangerous, right? And then you then get what you're getting right now from Rodon, and you hope that Dylan Cease can kind of turn that corner. He's the one that's he's kind of needing to kind of take that next step, and they haven't really seen that from him yet. But they're confident that he has all the stuff. Right, he has a great fastball. He has the ability to kind of do the things that some of these other guys are doing, but he hasn't been able to put it all together yet. And so if he can get clicking as well, I mean that's just going to make this rotation even that much more dangerous. And then we haven't even talked about the bullpen. I mean, Liam Hendricks leading the way as a closer, and then just the arms that Tony La Russa. I mean, obviously La Russa has that ability. Through his days in Oakland and his times in St. Louis, he's sort of been the master of being able to work a bullpen, right? And he has so many arms with him. When like I said, with Liam Hendricks, Cody Hoyer, Aaron Palmer, Evan Marshall, the list just kind of goes on and on and on. And obviously you deal with Kopech. You can either start him or you can put him in the bullpen. He's been lights out in that bullpen role, and so Garrett Crochet, another guy that can throw in the upper 90s. So you have so many weapons that you can use out of the bullpen where you don't, where if the starters can't go 5 or 6 or 7 innings, know that once you get to that, if you have a lead in the 6th or 7th inning, the ball game's over because you have these arms that you kind of use to get on out and mow the opponents on down.
Hey man, you're a wealth of knowledge, no question about it. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation, so we're running short on time. But I do have to ask you. Let me say this to you, man. I drive a Mercedes, okay. And the reason I drive a Mercedes is because I love the quality. I love the style. I love the excellence. I love the efficiency. I love everything about the Mercedes. I think White Sox fans are loving everything about this Yerminator Mercedes character because this guy he is excellent, man. I mean, he's unbelievable at the plate, and his story is phenomenal. 10 years in the minor leagues, battling back and forth. He stayed consistent. He stayed persistent. And now he's getting an opportunity to show what he's capable of doing. And I don't know, man. How long can this thing go? I mean, he's a true, pure major league hitter. He's slapping the ball all over the place, Lamont. Your thoughts on the Mercedes Yerminator?
It's been unreal. I mean, here's someone, if Eloy Jimenez doesn't get hurt, who knows if Mercedes makes the team out of spring training, right? I mean, they needed another bat, someone that had some power after Eloy went on down, and so Mercedes makes the team, and then in his first start, goes 5 for 5, and it's just kept on hitting. and it's not only anything that you need. You need a double, okay. You need a home run, okay. and his ability to hit with 2 strikes, right? Like he cuts down on his swing, and he's one of those guys. We've seen it in the game so often nowadays where guys, even with 2 strikes, are going to swing for the fences. They're going to just try to hit the ball at the ballpark. No, he cuts down on his swing, tries to just put the ball in play. And good things have happened for him. I mean, it's been unreal. And like I said, the story, just to persevere through all those years in the minor leagues, to finally get the opportunity and to have the success that he's had. I mean, it's been a boost. Not only, it's been one of the best stories, not only for the White Sox, but one of the best stories in all baseball.
It certainly has. Ed Lamont, and you're a great story here in Chicago, telling us about the great Chicago White Sox man for the Chicago Tribune. We really, really appreciate you spending some time on the Fastest Hour in Sports Conversation, brother. Keep up the great work, and we'll certainly be talking with you down the road. And hopefully, by the fall, we'll get a chance to be in the locker room watching the White Sox hoist that World Series trophy, my good friend.
Well, thank you for the time. Anytime you guys want to have me on, I'll be ready to go.
Sounds good. Hey, man, take care. Lamont Pope joining us on the Rewind Sports 60. It's the Fastest Hour in Sports Conversation, ladies and gentlemen. You want to say something, Marvelous?
Of course. I was gonna say, Mercedes, unbelievable. Was he batting 414 or something?
He's unbelievable.
Incredible. And for those of you youngsters, Brady was not the quarterback in the '86 Super Bowl. It was Tony Eason. I just wanted to clarify that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure, Mr. Marvelous?
I did the research. That's why.
I don't think you have to do research on that one.
That's why you couldn't get a hold of me for a while.
And the Cubs, hey, you know what? Hopefully, I mean, they're riding a roller coaster. And David Ross is their game under 500 now after falling to the Milwaukee Brewers. David Ross is trying to get this team up to snuff, and the bats exploded a couple times.
They started hitting, but their relief was like walkaholic with the last couple of days.
Yeah, and hey, Javi is Javi.
Yeah.
He's going to come around and produce the way we expect him to. Wilson Contreras, I'm impressed with what he's been able to do. I think the consistent bat for this team thus far has been Chris Bryant. He is coming in and doing whatever he's expected to do. Anthony Rizzo is starting to try to come around. Nico Horner! The fans' choice. He's back up.
Yeah, he should have been there from the beginning, but I think they were protecting him for the free agency.
Probably. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Fastest Hour in Sports Conversation. If you miss any portion of the Rewind Sports 60, right here on WCPT 820 AM. You can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on our website, therewindsports60.com, therewindsports60.com. If you live in the northern suburbs, on Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we're on Channel 17, Channel 19, and Channel 35. It's the Rewind Sports 60. Thanks to the Marvelous One. Here's the one, Dan Marver, and of course, our illustrious producer, Devin Tingle, kicking butt and taking names. Ladies and gentlemen, public service announcement. If you get stopped by the cops, right or wrong, comply. Get yourself a lawyer and let it pan out that way. Don't try to do it in the street. It ain't gonna happen for you. I'm telling you. Folks, take care of yourself. Enjoy yourself. Prayers out to my brother, Lauren P. Riles Jr. Elks. Say a prayer for him. Love you. Talk to you. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update, a weekly podcast with yours truly, Jerry Riles, and the Honorable Dr. Chad Prodromus. Dr. Prodromus is an orthopedic surgeon at Illinois Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Centers right here in the great city of Chicago, Glenview, and in Naples. Also, the orthopedic surgeon at Prodromus Stem Cell Institute. He's the editor-in-chief of the Anterior Cruciate Ligament Reconstruction and Basic Science. Doctor, how are you?
I'm terrific, Jerry. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome, and I'm looking forward to the weather improving here in the Chicagoland area. I know down in Naples it's pretty pretty warm and comfortable there. But here in Chicago, we're steadily climbing, 70s, getting some 80s, dipping back to the 50s and 60s. But hopefully we'll have consistent numbers in the 70s, mid 70s with a slight breeze out of the west would be fantastic. But all in all, we're doing well, and looking forward to more sports action, baseball, and of course basketball playoffs. But everything good on your front?
Couldn't be better. Thank you.
Sounds good. You know, the world of sports, there's so much. That's one reason why we enjoy it and we love it so much, is the fact there's always a storyline outside of the game and, of course, including the game. But for a lot of our viewers and a lot of our listeners, you know, a lot of them and a lot of us are always trying to get in shape, and we're working out, whether it's doing tennis or golf, and we'll get a chance to talk about the golf season coming up, weeks moving forward. But there's always the television sports as well. And for some of us out there, we're big boxing fans, but some are UFC fans and, of course, NBA fans. And there are a lot of factors involved with the conditioning and working out. But there are also and always some sort of injuries, whether it's tweaking the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, the arm, the legs, whatever the case may be. This week, Doctor, I want to focus on the lower extremities. That, of course, the legs below the waist, whether it's the legs, the ankle. And I tell you, there's been some prominent injuries that have taken place over the past week in the world of sports. And I want to go right into it. UFC boxing, UFC fighting, and a horrific event injury that happened just this past week with Chris Weidman, a middleweight, 36 years of age, fighting an opponent, Uriah Hall, and 17 seconds into the bout, he was going for a leg kick, with his right leg to Hall's left leg. And in the event of the contact and kicking Hall with his right leg, he broke his leg in two. It snapped like a toothpick. And the surprising thing, it was gruesome. For those of you who may not have witnessed or seen the video, it's graphic for sure. But what was surprising to me with that, he kicked them, cracked the leg, but he didn't realize it because of the adrenaline rush and because it happened so quickly. When he brought his leg down to brace himself and get into position for his fighting stance, the broken leg crumbled. And of course, that's when he realized the seriousness of his injury. Did you get an opportunity to see that? And can you describe to our listening audience and our viewers what happened there?
Yeah, you know, I looked at that tape that's out there in the public domain over and over and over, because, and I'll tell you what I finally sort of concluded, although I don't know. His leg buckled when he put it down. I think it broke when he put it down, not from the kick. And you see, to snap your tibia in general, whether it's Joe Theismann or I'm blanking on his name, the quarterback Smith.
Alex Smith.
Yeah, thank you. You need to generally have a leg that's weight bearing, and then something else that that hits it. So with a kick, there just shouldn't be any way that you can generate enough force with a kick. And I think had he broken it then, I don't think he would have not known it. I think he would have known it. So, and I looked at it over and over, and it looks like he put it down and then it snapped. But that shouldn't happen. I mean, it's so basically non-contact injury. We say contact, non-contact for knee injuries usually. Contact means your leg's on the ground, somebody hits you. That's contact. Non-contact, you twist. The classic non-contact injury is an ACL tear, which is a devastating injury, but it's not a bone break. Mm-hmm. But, non-contact bone injuries, fractures, basically, I'm trying to think if I'm, missing something here, but basically just kind of don't happen. Now, there are cases where you have a chronic stress fracture. There's a thing called a Jones fracture in the foot, which happens now and again in the base of the foot and in the fifth metatarsal from overuse. So you get a stress fracture, and then it can break just from running around on it. And actually, that's what it sort of would have looked like, that he had a stress fracture in his tibia. I mean, that would make sense. If he had a stress fracture in his tibia, like he set up for it, had a little crack, and then he landed on and did that. But to take a perfectly normal tibia and break it just by landing on it, which is what I think happened, or possibly by kicking, I don't think it's possible to do it just by kicking. And from looking at him, I don't think he did. Because snapping your tibia, I mean, wow, I think you know about it, but I'm not 100% sure I'm right about this. But I looked at it. Maybe it is what you say during the kick, but in looking at it, it looked to me pretty clearly. He puts the leg down and it breaks non-contact injury. But like I said, non-contact fractures don't occur. You get non-contact knee injuries, ACL commonly. You can get non-contact ankle sprains. You roll your ankle. Non-contact Achilles tears. But a non-contact tibia fracture, oh my goodness. So, it makes you wonder, did he have something predisposing? It'd be interesting to know, and I haven't really read this anyplace, but did he have pain in that leg a little bit going into it and was set up for it? Because, these are in the news a little bit. There was even a third one. I can't think of who it was, besides Alex Smith and Joe Theismann that came up. Tiger Woods, right? But that's contact. That's your foot's braced against the floorboards and something happens. So I just wonder, and I haven't read anything about it, and if it were the case, would they talk about it? Did he have some pain in that leg before that happened? And then why? And by the way, there's two bones in the lower leg. There's two bones that go from the knee to the ankle. One is the tibia. It's the larger bone. The fibula, the lesser bone. The fibula only bears about 10% of the weight. When you bear weight, it's almost all the tibia. In fact, you can remove the fibula for bone grafts, and it doesn't really affect normal activities. And the fibula, a large part of why it exists is to be an attachment site, an origin site for muscles. But, tibia, we call them tibia fibula fractures, are higher energy injuries in general, worse injuries than just tibia fracture. And he had a completely displaced tibia fibula fracture. I mean, that's something you see in, auto accidents, things like that. And so, or a football injury. If your leg is braced and somebody hits you, that's high energy too. But so this was not a trivial thing. This was not a crack in a little bone. This is a complete break in basically the second biggest bone in the body. It's a funny thing. It's not. They're very different, of course. But we talked last time about these pectoral muscle tears, where the one was in the patient that I had in the office, and the other in the pro athlete, which is kind of your arm circumducting itself, not against resistance like in a bench press.
Right.
Funny thing. I mean, here's another one that just usually doesn't occur this way. And so are people getting more set up for these unusual injuries by the intense training and the weight training and everything else? Some kind of a supplement, maybe? I don't know.
Interesting. Dr. Chad for Joel Mr. Weekly Sports Medicine Update. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, talking UFC fighter Chris Weidman, who suffered a horrific leg injury, breaking his tibia this past week, fighting an opponent, Uriah Hall. It was gruesome and devastating, certainly to watch. So if you do Google it and you haven't seen it, brace yourself for it, because it's very, very graphic. And the good thing about it is Chris is obviously, the surgery took place. His leg is doing well. He's fine. And Dana White, the head of UFC, actually sent his private jet to fly him home. So, and I do believe that Chris had experienced some injuries before in the past, and I think that was somewhat of a factor in the speculation that was going on leading up to this, after the injury. So I do believe he did have some previous injuries.
So Jerry, you're saying injuries in general or to that area?
in general, and particularly, it could have been in the leg area as well. But that's what I want to ask you, because to me, again, from my vantage point, looking at the video, it looked as if on impact that's when the leg broke, because it looked to me that when he kicked his right leg into the left leg of Hall, that the lower part of his leg, leading down to the foot area, looked like a wet noodle in slow motion. And then when he stepped back with his upper leg to put it down to brace himself is when it just went flat for sure.
You might be right, Jerry. I didn't see any slow motion takes. So if you saw that, maybe that's the case. And if it is the case, it's maybe even stranger, because for the leg to give out when you're weight bearing, happens. But for it to break just from kicking is something that I've just never seen. So I don't know why that would I don't know why that would occur just from you would just have to think that it was predisposed. I can't prove it.
Right.
And maybe I'm wrong. But in general, so you can get a stress fracture in the tibia, although and you can get one in the fibula too. Although for both bones to go, it'd be pretty strange to have a stress fracture in both before. I don't know. I've never seen anything like it.
But Doc, could it be both bones? He's kicking his right leg with the tibia bone, and I guess the angle hits the tibia bone of Hall, which is stationary, and when the force comes together, could have caused that break at that impact at that moment?
Well, if what you're saying is true about the slow motion, and so you're saying you actually saw the deformity at the point of impact, if that's the case, then you're right. Then obviously it did. It's just that you just don't see it. The ones, all the ones that I've ever seen, and it's not a real common sports injury. I mean, it's and I'm trying. Did Gordon Hayward have a tibia fracture? I don't know. I'd have to go back and check.
I know there was. I think Rudy Gay in the NBA. I think he suffered something similar to that. I know there are a couple collegiate basketball players over the past few years that suffered some gruesome injuries, a lot
of times the gruesome injuries, like the Bears' recent great tight end. Zach Miller.
Zach Miller. Yeah.
So often you'll see a knee dislocation like he had. So the knee goes sideways, it goes backward. But I've just never seen a tibial. And I mean, aside from sports, I don't really do trauma work fractures anymore and haven't for a while. But, I did for 20 years maybe. And so you would see, I'd see tibia fractures. I'd take care of tibia fractures. And I never saw one where you didn't have a case where the leg was braced. Your foot is braced, so you've got a fixed point. You've got the foot braced and then your body being stationary, even standing. And I saw a martial arts injury where the person was standing and he was kicked. He's the recipient of a kick, not the giver of a kick. So he was fixed. And he got kicked by somebody else on his tibia, and his tibia broke. So, you see that. But I've never seen one like this. So happily, I guess I would say, it's a rough sport. Bad things happen. Happily, that doesn't happen very often. Happily, they can put a rod down an interlocking nail, it's called, which they did. And prognosis is very good. But not that sport is not for the faint of heart.
No question about it. Believe me, Dr. Chad Prodromos. Speaking of which, and I want to get into the conversation a little bit about LeBron James and the NBA and his ankle injury. But before that, you mentioned Tiger Woods earlier, and we know, God bless him, and thank God that he's okay and survived the accident a few weeks back in California. He's now obviously back home in Florida, but the serious leg injury that he sustained in that horrific car injury, he had a couple rods and screws
inserted in that right leg there. What is the recovery based on that sort of injury from your knowledge and experience? What is the recovery for that regarding Tiger, and one, getting back to normalcy as far as, walking and jumping and, bending and things of that nature, but, the golf fans, would he be capable of returning back to the sport of golf, which is a lot of walking, when you're talking about 18 holes for 4 days? Can Tiger rebound to this, have a normal life, and more importantly, get back to a pro life as well?
Yeah, so the recovery can be long, and again, I don't know the details. These injuries, the recovery and the complication rate correlates some with the energy imparted. So there are low energy and high energy injuries. So if the bone sticks out through the skin, it's called a compound or open fracture. It heals more slowly. The configuration of the fracture matters too. If it's a clean transverse fracture, they actually heal worse because there's less exposed bone area to heal. And so, the length of recovery, Joe Theismann, as best I understood it at the time, failed his physical a year later. And a second year after, I think, would have been okay. But the tibia is possibly the slowest healing bone in the body. Alex Smith, of course, oh my goodness, I think he had an infection and multiple surgeries. So with him, it was a couple of years, I think, maybe more. So in general, if it's the ankle, it's a little quicker. If it's the tibial shaft, like the UFC fighter, longer. So tibial shaft, the bones usually heal real well. The joints are more complicated. So so the UFC fighter, you would think, once the bone heals, should be maybe just about as good as new. Tiger Woods is closer to the ankle, so it depends. If the ankle was traumatized as well, the ligaments, that's a little worse. And the thing in Tiger Woods' case too, so your joints serve as dampers. When you walk, your body would kind of go up and down, and your joints, your ankle, your knee, and your hip all serve to dampen the vertical oscillations that occur when you walk. So they're all shock absorbing structures. Yet, in the back too. And so, you can have an injury like Tiger Woods and do really well, but if you look at your range of motion, maybe it's a little less than before. I mean, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's perfect, but oftentimes it'll be a little less. So, for the average person, maybe that doesn't matter. But you take Tiger Woods with his back problems, and so if his back isn't 100%, and then his ankle isn't 100%, in aggregate, it can be worse than either one alone. The other thing is golf. I mean, gee whiz, golf is such a hard sport. And so I think you'll be able to walk. I think you'll be able to play golf. But to be able to play golf and win PGA tournaments, I mean, never say never. There's no theoretical reason why it couldn't happen. But he's had multiple back surgeries. He's had knee issues. And there comes a point when your back's a little sore, your knee's a little sore, your ankle's a little sore. He's a little older than he was. So, the odds are certainly against him ever being, rising to his prime.
Shh.